My Hoyas may not know this, but I definitely have some favorite children among them, and some of them I would like to send off to whatever is the place where you send off ill-behaved Hoyas. It's the trash, isn't it? Insert intro here, hello, welcome, and all that jazz, and let's continue. I should really think of an intro, but so far I came up with, hello, my name is Miro, and I'm glad you could make it. But I feel there is a similar one out there. I think I've heard something similar. Today I wanted to share with you my favorite Hoya Foliage. And this is not the first time I'm recording this video, this is actually the second or third time. There is no particular order here, you know that I love my Hoyas, and honestly I could come up with a list that is a whole lot longer, but then this video would turn into me telling you how awesome a Hoya is and how every Hoya has that one special thing that makes it great. Except for Hoya Australis. Hoya Australis. Sorry, I may have issue growing Hoya Australis, subspecies Australis, outer variegated one. That bitch won't grow. I'm going to list 10 Hoyas for you that are among my favorites. I will tell you how long I've had it for, why I like it, and maybe some additional information. But before that, let's hear a word from the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with fantastic teachers and thousands of classes that can help you explore new skills. One of the classes I really enjoyed listening is Personal Productivity, 5 Exercises to Make Your Big Goal a Reality by Kate Ahrens. In this class, Kate teaches you how to take your idea or your goal, whatever it may be, break it down into achievable steps, providing you at the same time with tools and exercises to help you along the way. Whether you want to pass an exam, take up a new hobby, write a book, start a small business, or really anything else, this class might be just the right one for you. I also just saw a new class that has been added by Bernadette Banner, and I have been watching her YouTube channel for quite some time now, and I'm very happy to see that there is a step-by-step class that you can take that can really help you learn how to hand sew. Not that I will learn anything, I think I'm pretty hopeless in that department, but for whatever weird reason, I love to watch that, and it can really be as simple as that. You can just watch something that makes you feel relaxed. There are no ads in Skillshare, which helps you learn without any interruptions, but if you are out of time or if something else comes up, it is also very easy to just pause and continue next time when you feel like it. Since Skillshare is the sponsor of this video, first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial so you can start exploring your creativity today. And now it's time to look at some pretty Hoyas. Okay, let's start with the list. The first one will come as a no surprise for you if you have watched any of my videos before. It is Hoya Undulata. I mean, look at that gorgeous leaf. Here you can see how big this plant is now, and I have to tell you, this plant is an absolute survivor. At least that has been the case for me. It spent 40 days in the box shipping to get to me. It survived root mealybugs, and it survived transfer from regular potting mix to semi-hydro. Amazing. And honestly, judging by what everyone is saying about this Hoya, it should be dead. But it ain't. I mean, at least for now. I purchased this plant in April of 2020, and it could not be shipped to me until the end of September because of the pandemic and all that stuff. Anyways, I purchased it as a 3-leaf rooted cutting, and it arrived in November. It took 40 days to arrive to me, and it only dropped 1 leaf after spending 40 days in a box. I have to say myself, if someone put me for 40 days in a box, I would lose more than 1 leaf. Or would 1 leaf be equivalent to 1 limb? That got very dark, didn't it? And I think it's very easy to say that I love this Hoya because of its foliage. Some of these leaves get absolutely massive. You can see there is a lovely splash. The leaf is probably one of my favorite Hoya type leaves, and it's these leaves that are kinda matte to the touch. They're not really velvety. I would not classify them as velvety. They're not pubescent, so I'm just gonna keep calling them matte. It is definitely not Hoya for everyone. I know that some people think that this Hoya is very ugly. In my opinion, it's quite beautiful. These leaves, the undulate edge, it's what makes it really unique. But for some people, this exactly is the characteristic why they hate it. It just looks a bit weird. To me, I think it just looks something that came out of the Jurassic Park. Of course, another reason why I love this plant is because of its flower. It did not produce a peduncle for me that I can tell. Of course, it is possible that there is a hidden peduncle somewhere, but I don't think there is. It actually had a longer vine here, but I bumped that and broke the growing tip, which I was very happy about. So I just cut it back here, and it's already pushing out a new growth, which I'm not sure you can really see. It's because of my head. My head is the issue. But here is the new growth that the plant is pushing out. In my opinion, it is easy to grow. It really took to semi-hydro well, which is surprising considering that a lot of people say this plant does not want to be watered. That has not been my experience. Even when it was in bark and moss, I would water it once or twice a week. It really depended on the temperature, and now I just make sure that the reservoir doesn't go completely empty. I also don't think anyone will be surprised by the second entry on this list. It is the variegated Hoya Hirosliana. Come on, show to the camera how pretty you are. All the additional lights do make it look paler than it is, which is not the case. So there will be some B-roll or some photos to show you the true colors of the plant. There was a period in my Hoya collecting where I swore that I would never have a variegated Hoya except for the Hoya Carnosa Crimson Queen and Crimson Princess that I had. And I also swore that I would not have a Hoya Carry. Well, fast forward, I do have Hoya Carry, and I do have 3 cultivars of Hoya Carry, which makes it 4. And clearly I do have variegated Hoyas. Now this is a lesson for all of you. Never say that you will not have a plant or that you hate a certain plant, because I've said that so many times. And it bit me in the ass so many times. Anyways, that's not the point of this video. The point is Hoya Hirosliana. So let's get back to that. I really don't know why I'm telling you. You are staying on track. It's me who's the issue. This is a lovely small leaved Hoya that grows quite fast. In my opinion, I think it was probably this size when I got it, but it has 2-3 more growing points and it grew quite a bit. It does like being potted in semi-hydro. I did not have issue with it being in cocoa peat and perlite, but since I moved it to semi-hydro, it's growing much faster. And I do think you can grow it in any mix. Just make sure to regularly water it and that the mix is really well draining. I recommended in the past orchid bark with some sphagnum moss. That works really well. Another thing that works really well for me is a mix of 50% cocoa peat and perlite. Fantastic. I am sure it would do well in pond. I don't have experience with pond yet, but any substrate that can retain some moisture but is also well aerated and well draining will be great. It will just depend how often you have to water it. The reason why I love this Hoya so much is because of the foliage. Obviously, this is, after all, favorite Hoya foliage. And you can see here, if the camera would focus, it's a combination of white and sometimes creamy white with green, lighter green. I'm not sure how that comes out on the camera. And then the new leaves will come in pink. It is really a beautiful plant, and I actually got a variegated Valiniana, and I hope it does as well as variegated Hirosliana. And also the new growth, the stem will be pinkish as well. And I do think that this combination of green, cream, and pink is beautiful. I'm not sure if it's unique to Hoyas, but Hoya Crimson Princess will do it, Crimson Queen will do it, variegated Hirosliana. It is lovely. I don't think you will be disappointed if you get this particular one. If you have seen my recent Hoya haul, you will recognize this plant right away. It is Hoya Solaris with yellow center. It is a lovely plant, and clearly in a couple of weeks it just climbed to the top of my favorite Hoya list. It is currently rooting in Ceramis, and I got a couple of questions in that video how I root my Hoyas. It really depends on my mood, I guess. Sometimes I will root them in Ceramis, sometimes I will put them in a bag with perlite, sometimes in a mix of cocoa peat and perlite in a prop box, sometimes in distilled water with algamic. And I find that all of these methods work. Sometimes I will put them in moss, just plain moss, in a prop box. I really did not have issues with any of these methods. Some work better, some work a bit slower. It also depends on the Hoya. Not all Hoyas will root the same way. For example, I find the best way to root Hoya multiflora is to put it in potting mix and in a prop box. Some will really root fast in water. I guess try all the methods, see what works best for you, know what methods are available, and if something doesn't work, if Hoya is taking way too long to root, maybe try a different method. That would be my advice. Ceramis so far works great. If you don't know, I'm not sure where everyone is from, but Ceramis is made from clay. It's kind of like clay perlite, I guess, and I'm not sure if that camera will focus. I think rooting in pond would maybe be similar. Again, rooting in perlite. The thing that I like about Ceramis versus perlite is that it holds the moisture. So this Hoya is in regular, well, I guess I cannot really say that my room conditions are quite regular since it's 70% humidity, but it does well in regular humidity. I think you can easily root in Ceramis in your household, no prop box needed, because it does hold to moisture well, but it's not too wet. We can see that this is starting to root. Hold on, there is hair. Disgusting. You can see that this Hoya has started to root, which is great. I think I will let it be there for a couple of days more and pretty soon I will repot it. I don't really wait for a whole bunch of roots. That's the way I do it. And I don't intend to keep it in Ceramis forever, so I would like to pot it in something else. Most likely leca or pond. The reason I love Hoya Solaris so much is because of the raised veining. I'm not sure if you can see that well. And the splash on the leaves. It does remind me a lot of Hoya Clemenciorum, which is a Hoya I tried to get last year. It's probably on the top of my wish list right now. Luckily, the clone that I got last year, that by the way died in the box with Hoya Undulata, it appeared alive for one day, but in fact it was dead. That's not the clone that I want, so silver lining question mark. The clone that I really want is IML 1752. But again, this is about Hoya Peninsularis. This used to be known as Hoya species teddy bear and Hoya species perak, Hoya Lata Iskandar or species Lata Iskandar. That's all supposed to be Hoya Peninsularis. As far as I know, there are two clones with yellow and red center. There may be more, don't quote me on that. It's a lovely Hoya to have, definitely because of the leaf. And this leaf is absolutely massive. I do hope that the new ones will be as big, if not bigger. I will not be modest, and I will admit I do want big leaves like this one on this particular Hoya. The next Hoya is Variegated Hoya Variety. And you can see my plant here. If I recall correctly, in May it was just this big, so it had 4 or 5 leaves. All of this is new growth on the plant. I did not think this was going to be among my favorite Hoyas, but it really is. And the reason why I thought I wouldn't like it is because I don't really like the regular Variety either. The reason I don't like regular Variety is because I had a lot of issues growing it until I got the mix right, I suppose. It is a Hoya that is, in my opinion, very easy to rot, much easier than Hoya Undulata. Again, from my experience. I purchased this plant as Hoya Kentiana with inner variegation. I think that all of those are supposed to be Hoya Vietti. I did buy another one that is supposed to be Variegated Vietti, but to me they look pretty much the same. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna bring them too close to one another because this one also had mealybugs. The reason I love this Hoya so much is because of all the colors that it can have and all the patterns on the leaves. Sometimes they are white with a bit of pink, with a bit of light green, dark green, all shades of green really. The new growth I think looks very nice. On the camera it doesn't really show, but it is pink. And I like it so much that now I want the outer variegated one, the one that they call Lori Lynn. That one is a bit more expensive and more difficult to find, so it will have to wait. It's certainly not on the top of my wish list, but it is on my wish list. Another favorite is Hoya Rincey from Borneo. Once again, nothing will come out on this camera how I wanted to, but it's an absolute beauty to have. I got this Hoya, I believe it was a one leaf cutting with one node, and it grew a couple of leaves and this long-ish vine that got tangled in my shelf, so it was a bit difficult to show it to you, but here it is. The reason why I love this Hoya so much is, again, it has that made texture to the leaf, but also the leaf, it doesn't, again, show on the camera, but it will be this dark green, kind of mixed with purple, and the splash will be a bit pinkish. So that's on the new leaves. Of course, the older leaves will be darker green with some silver splash, but just looking at this new growth is amazing when it's on your shelf, in your window, or wherever. It is really lovely to see that new leaf come in, and there is this striking contrast that doesn't, again, show all that much between the dark of the leaf and the veining. And even when you turn it a bit, you can see that it kind of shimmers a bit. It is really, really beautiful. For the next plant, you will have to enjoy some B-roll because honestly, it's a bit big and I have already a lot of Hoyas around me. It is the Hoya Latifolia, the variegated Hoya Latifolia, and I do think this is the Hoya that made my channel. The reason for that is that this Hoya is sold as Hoya Macrophylla a lot. It is not Hoya Macrophylla, it is definitely Hoya Latifolia. In that video I said I think you have to identify each one, but I think now we know that all of those are Hoya Latifolia, and we're still waiting to find out what an actual Hoya Macrophylla is. Anyways, that's a separate topic. Maybe in the future I can do an updated version of that video because that video is quite old and quite silly in some ways. But it is an absolute Hoya nevertheless, whatever the name is. It is massive. The leaves can vary from medium-sized to quite large in my opinion, and it is a decent grower. I cut mine back probably several times a year. I usually trade or sell maybe 5 to 10 cuttings each year of this Hoya because I really don't want it to get way too big. It has the trellis that it has, and I think that is the limit. I don't want it to get any bigger because I need space for all other Hoyas. It is also very easy to bloom. Mine blooms, I think, each month. The flowers do make a lot of nests. There is nectar, and also when the flowers are dry, when they fall onto your floor, it will be a pain to clean, but that's fine. We will forgive this plant because the leaves are absolutely wonderful. The leaf coloration is amazing. They can get lime green, dark green, and creamy or yellowish, whatever you want to call that. I really like when the edge kind of seeps in into the middle and it kind of becomes lime green. Those are my favorite leaves, and I think I would really like to get an inner variegated one. So far it has not been easy to get one, but hopefully in the future I will. And I would also like to get all other types of Latifolia because, you know, we have space here. The next thing to go is the bed. There was a very purple Volkswagen Beetle, and the person driving it just went crazy. It's okay, you're driving a Volkswagen Beetle, it's not a Ferrari. The next plant is Hoya Mimirithy, and it is absolute beauty. It was much more beautiful before. It has some damage on the leaves that is due to the treatment for mealybugs, the dishwashing liquid treatment that I do not recommend, as you know. The new leaf looks a bit funky, and I'm not sure, it was stuck, so I had to pull it out. It kind of grew here, maybe that's why it looks a bit funky, but I will certainly have to check for spider mites because they are quite common with Hoyas, and the plant next to it had them, which is also on this list, so that's lovely. The leaves are huge. You can see how big this leaf is. Not sure if that's the biggest one. I think this one on the bottom is the biggest one. And what strikes me is this veining on the leaf and just how pale green the back of the leaf is, and then the veining is darker green. It's a beauty. What else can I say? The leaves are also matte to the touch, and I think you can kind of spot that I do love these types of plants and these types of leaves that are matte to the touch. I do like the glabrous leaves two. But if I had to pick my favorite, it would be these. My plant did not arrive with an accession number, but it looks very similar to the one that circulates as Hoya Mimirithy IML 1105, I believe, is the accession number. Of course, you cannot add the accession number once it has been lost, but to me, it looks like that. I'm, of course, not going to add it. I will just keep calling it Hoya Mimirithy. It is a lovely clone, whichever it is. I think it's probably one of the best clones out there, but I do believe it may be a slower growing one. I don't have any other clones of Hoya Mimirithy to compare it to, so it may be typical for Hoya Mimirithy to be this slow. Nevertheless, I think it's a lovely, lovely plant. It used to look much better in the past, but because of the root mealybug episode in April, I had to cut off the roots and chop it into several cuttings, so that's why it looks like this. It has seen better days and it will see better days again, keeping it optimistic. Number 8 on this list is Hoya I did a spotlight on, and it is Hoya Bovata. I changed the trellis. You can see here, I did not do the best job though trellising. It's okay, it could be better. There is a lot of new growth that I think I should probably trellis here and then here, so it can fill it out a bit more. Maybe even go down and then up. We'll see how flexible this vine is, so we can use the most of the trellis. But anyways, the variegated Hoya Bovata, it's absolutely gorgeous. The new leaves that it's getting, also here. I can't tip it way too much because I will lose all my potting mix. But you can see that this plant is very lovely. Honestly, it was not my favorite. It was maybe even the least favorite when I got it because the old growth didn't look so good. I got 3 plants, and I said that in the video about Hoya Bovata. 2 were for my friends, and they looked equally bad. One looked completely green, but it pushed out actually variegated leaves since. Now I really like it because the leaves are variegated. They are lovely. They go from lime green to darker green. I don't really have any that are yellow in the center, and some have splash, some don't. It really varies from leaf to leaf. I like this clone. It blooms early on. I got it in the fall or late summer of last year, and it bloomed in spring, and really this year it put out a bunch of new growth. This entire vine that you can see that goes like this way and then all the way here. That is several months worth of growth. This vine started to grow, I would say, in the beginning of the spring, so it's quite fast when it decides to grow. In the beginning, it was extremely slow. It didn't do anything for the first couple of months, but then it started to grow a bit better. And now it's just crazy. Maybe tone it down a bit. I'm gonna poke my eye out with a trellis. Now this is the weak link in our Hoya squad today. It allowed itself to be attacked by spider mites. Unfortunately, you can see the damage here. It stays in the top of my shelf, so I didn't notice right away, but right after I'm finished recording the video, I have to spray it down. Anyways, this is Hoya elliptica, and you can see it's still quite a lovely plant. Unfortunately, for me, it does have spider mites. Hopefully they will not be too difficult to get rid of. I have a method that works pretty well, which is using Cumulus. It is sulfur-based fungicide, but it works as a caricide, which is for spider mites. This plant is wonderful to have. I have to say, I cut it back multiple times. It continues to grow. It continues to branch out. I got it as a cutting with 4 leaves, I think, in June of last year, and all of this grew since then. It also had mealybugs, the root mealybugs that we all loved, and I also damaged it with detergent. Still, it's growing strong. I have 3 cuttings now in the pot because I had a larger vine that I cut up in several parts, and I rooted the 3 cuttings, and all of this grew pretty much since April, I would say. So from here to here. It is a lovely, lovely grower. The thing that I love about it the most are obviously the leaves. I mean, you can see how lovely that leaf is. I hopefully you don't see any spider mites, but they remind me of turtle shells. It's just very, very cute. I think it's a very cute Hoya. It's quite different from the other Hoyas. I do wish that my leaves were larger on the top, but it's because it's getting way too close to the light, so the leaves are progressively getting smaller and smaller. It is not a Hoya that loves to be in very high light, in my experience, and it does not look very good sun-stressed. I saw photos of Hoya elliptica that received a whole bunch of light, and they don't look great to me. So we will put this back, or I will put this back now, and hopefully I will have no issues with spider mites. Honestly, whoever said that spider mites are not gonna happen in higher humidity should be punished. Off with their heads! And the last Hoya is a cute, small Hoya Nicole. I don't know how to show you. It's quite small. So this is Hoya Nicole New Guinea Ghost NS16006, I believe, is the accession number. It just started to grow, and if my face would get out of the frame. I received this as 2 small cuttings from my friend Carolina, and I'm so grateful. In fact, in that box, I got several other Hoyas. By the way, it was a surprise box, so I wasn't expecting it. When I saw this one, I just assumed that's it. Nothing else is in the box, but there were some other plants and I almost threw them away. I was so excited to see this one. It doesn't look like much now to some of you, I understand that, but it will get much, much prettier. The leaves are absolutely stunning. They are smaller than the Nicole that I have, and they are obviously silver with a bit of pink tint to it. If you expose it to enough light, they will really get beautiful. From my understanding, this plant has a compact growth structure, but it does grow fast. I'm not sure if I'm going to grow it on a trellis yet. I will have to think about that, but I think it's time to water it. And I promise you, next time you see this one, you will fall in love with it and you will want to buy it, which may not be a good thing for your wallet. That is all for today. I hope that you enjoyed my short list of favorite Hoya foliage. Of course, I could make it a whole lot longer, but then it would turn into a video of me fangirling about Hoyas or fanboying about Hoyas. Is fanboying even an expression? Fanhoying. It has turned into a lame joke video. Let me know which of these Hoyas you like the most, and if you have any of them, or maybe if you would like to get some of them. Also, if there is a Hoya that you think should be on this list, do write the name in the comment below. Maybe I don't have it and I would like to have it, so who knows, maybe it's something that I don't know about and I can add it to my wish list. So then it can be your fault for my wish list getting bigger. Also, if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I don't make the rules here, it's YouTube, so you gotta subscribe. I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope you're enjoying your plants. Give them some love, and the bad ones you can sacrifice to the pests, but not to you. We're gonna save you, hopefully. I should really just stop getting spider mites on me. Not the best idea I had. Have a great weekend and see you soon. Bye! I would like to take some time to thank my patrons. A big shout out to my $5 patrons. One anonymous patron, Betsy Begonia, Bonnie Harris, Carrie Danube Daniels, Estelle, Hoyas and Whatnots, Kelsey Jager, Kristen Sherwood, Mars B, Martina Alif Per Day, Melissa Walker, Nicole Ferranti P. J, Rachel Colette Conroy, Robin L. Jennings, Stephanie H2O, Spinach Geek, Tanya TJWO, Vicky Dingler, and Zlakov Niponi. Also a big thank you to my $3 patrons, Angelina Farnan, April Arroyo, Brianna Phillips, Catherine G, Jerry's Garden, Lisa Helling, Lori Murphy, Morgan Kennedy, Nikki, and Ringlo. Also a thank you to my $1 patrons, Caroline, Dinsla, and Jacinta. Thank you all so much for your support. It truly means the world to me. I hope you're enjoying the videos and see you very soon.